Good morning. It's Wednesday, May 20th, and I am making a brief video in regards to the current economic state. Clients that I have been working with, who I've recently submitted files for the IRS Fresh Start Program. I'm going to be reviewing these files. Any of them that have not been accepted, I'm going to be reviewing them and seeing what figures have changed in regards to the decrease in income, the decrease in assets, and what they would qualify for now, and if that's going to promote a resubmission for those. And so I was thinking, well, while I'm doing that, why don't I make a video that briefly describes what the Fresh Start program is and what the criteria of getting qualified for that. So in 2011, the IRS created the Fresh Start program or Fresh Start initiative. I'm sure you've heard both those terms thrown around, whether it's commercials or whatnot. And basically what that means is in 2011, they expanded the criteria of what the IRS will allow a taxpayer to settle for a reduced amount in regards to their taxable liability. The most common term is offer and compromise. But the offer and compromise is not going to be approved for everybody because that is basically the best situation possible. You are going to take your assets, you're going to take your income, and there's a factoring situation that basically comes up with a monthly payment, and you can either do a 24-month plan or a 5-month plan, and you do it, pay it, and once it's been paid, you have to stay compliant for 5 years. That means you have to pay all future tax debt, you have to do all your future filings for 5 years, and at the end of 5 years, it falls off. But you gotta, like I said, you gotta be compliant. You gotta get compliant with all your filings now before the IRS will even consider you. So if you haven't filed in a couple of years, but you have this tax debt from years ago, the IRS is gonna want you to get compliant with all your filings. And you're also gonna have to show that, hey, you're changing your evil ways. You're gonna have to show that, hey, I'm making estimated payments or I'm increasing the withholding, so there is not gonna be any future debt in that, so you're not piling it on. Now, that is not the only way to work with the IRS. Like I said, the offer and compromise is not for everybody. But I think right now, with everything that's going on, the offer and compromise is probably going to be a whole lot more open to those when it was not before. So it's something if you've been thinking about, hey, would I qualify for an offer and compromise? Right now is the time to see if you're going to qualify or not. But there's also installment agreements, and there's a broad range of different kind of installment agreements. And the most typical one with installment agreements is, hey, this is what you owe. We want it paid in 6 years. So they take the debt divided by 72, and this is what your monthly payment's going to be, which is fine. And if you got to be under $50,000 in debt to be able to have no lien on you either. So if you're over $50,000, a lien is automatic, but they take it divided by 72. This is your payment. Pretty straightforward. But there is what's called a PPIA, Partial Payment Installment Agreement, and this is an alternative to the OIC. Say you got an OIC and you obviously have the reduced income, but let's say you have assets, say you have equity in the home or something of that nature that you do not qualify or disqualifies you for the OIC. The PPIA may be an alternative that the IRS will look at for you. So it's basically, just like the name says, partial payment installment agreement. You're not going to be able to pay that full figure off in 6 years. So they accept a reduced amount. And after the end of 6 years, whatever is left just gets removed. Or this is something that if you have what's called a CSED. Now a CSED, all IRS liability has a CSED. The CSED is once something's filed, the IRS has 10 years to collect on it. So they're on the clock. As soon as it's been filed, it has to be filed, the IRS is on the clock for 10 years to collect on it. The OIC stops that clock. So the OIC, if it's something that's been dwindling away with the CSED, and you submit an OIC, it stops. Any kind of installment agreement does not stop it. So if you get qualified for PPIA, there's a good chance that some of that starts dropping off while you're making these payments. And that's probably the most common way for it to get a reduced amount through a PPIA. So these are just a few things. There's a lot of tools in the toolbox outside of the offer and compromise. The offer and compromise is a great resolution tool, but there is more to it than just that. So if you have any questions on anything that I discussed, feel free to reach out to me at robert@doubledfinancial.com.